Hello, Gary Jacobs here from Drivertax. I'm really sorry that I can't be with you. As you can see, we're stuck out in on the motorway as usual, but I'm here to just very briefly talk about the financial obligations of the private hire driver, well, any professional driver. So I've got my meeting notes, I've got everything I need, and I thought maybe I'd just give a chance to go through it with you. So Drivertax is an accountancy firm, and we've been asked to we do tax returns for thousands of drivers and have been doing for 25-26 years. So let's talk about what the situation is. Some of you that we'll be talking to are already private hire drivers and coming across. Some of you will be new to professional driving. Most of the drivers that come into the trade tend to be sole traders or self-employed. So the idea is that you have 3 months from when you first start driving, or first time you take money as a business, to actually register with the Inland Revenue. The idea of self-assessment or a sole trader is really very simple. You register. You have to do a tax return. The tax return will look at everything you've earned, everything you've spent on your business, and what's left over is your net profit. That net profit is what you're taxed on. But we'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but really it's as simple as that. As a sole trader, you are responsible for your own tax and for keeping there's an HMRC revenue word which is contemporaneous books and record. That basically means books and records as you go along. So first of all, registration. I've got all my forms that we normally have here. Registering you as self-employed is actually a lot simpler than you think. There is actually a registration helpline. Most accountants like myself like to do it first. Very simple form. Fill it out. All it needs is your basic details, who you are, what you're doing, and what you intend to do. If you're doing it with an accountant, there's a second form which authorises you for an accountant to act for you. And once again, you can do it online. Do it by paper. We authorise people online and they get sent a code, and that's it, you're registered. What you're then obligated for is to do a tax return. Now once again, in the packs that you have in front of you is a sheet like this. This basically just gives you an idea of the tax year. The tax year runs April to April, and the idea is at the end of April that you get sent a tax return. Or electronically now you're asked to file a tax return. So most people would then take that to an accountant, and you then have to the January thereafter, which I think is about 10 months or something, to actually do the tax return and pay your tax by January the 31st. So most accountants like myself would encourage you to get it done as soon as possible. So we start chasing our clients from April onwards. As soon as the new tax year comes in, we want you to come in and do your tax return early. And the reason is because when you know how much money you owe in terms of your tax liability, you can make sure that you can actually set the money aside to get that done. So that's it. When we've got a little form here, once again, it's in your pack. We'll tell you all about what it is. If somebody starts with us partway through a year, we still tend to run them, say from September, we'll still run them to April. But the Inland Revenue will also want to know what you've done within that period. So if you've got a P45, you've left a job, or you've been on benefits and you'd also get a P45, we'd need that as well, because the Inland Revenue, the HMRC, do like to know everything you've been doing financially within that year. So we would include that detail during the tax return, employed and self-employed. Okay. I'm going to talk very briefly about cash flow planning. I know it sounds a bit complicated, but it's really important when you start driving, you need to know what you need to earn. Once again, you're going to find a sheet in the pack that we give you, or it's something you can pick up the phone to us. We have a spreadsheet that can help you do it. You can do it online, and it's really very simple. You need to know what you're spending, what your outgoings is, what your mortgage or your rent, what your Sky or Virgin, what your food bill is. Give yourself a proper idea of what your outgoings are, because if you know what you're spending, you know what you need to earn. Once again, self-assessment tax is very simple. Everything you earn, it's everything you spend on your business. When you take that away, what's left is your profit. That profit is taxed. So if you earn £20 and £10 of that was your expenses, diesel, insurance, car rent, things like that, what's left over, if there's £10 left over, you will get taxed on that £10. So you need to know that you've got that right amount of money to live. So it's something, once again, in pack you'll see a very simple cash flow sheet. If you want us to do it with you, there's a piece of software that we can have it done it as well. Understand what you need to work. Okay, so what are books and records? Everybody talks about, a lot of clients that come and see me will say, well, what can I claim for? And they've heard people talk about claiming for, but what does that really mean? Well, you don't get the money back, but what you can claim for is legitimate expenses. So for instance, your fuel, which is diesel or petrol, you know, in a few years' time it's going to be how much electric you use, but at the moment for most of the guys that is an expense. We have another sheet in the system, which is this sheet, and this is a bookkeeping sheet that we ask you to fill out. Once again, clients that come on board with us, we have this. We have an online version. We can give you a spreadsheet that's like this. However you do it, it's up to you. We even have a system coming on board. We can take photographs of your receipts and it uploads. But if you look at this, we want to know what your cash takings are. More and more people are using apps or using credit cards and have other ways to do it. So we also want to know what your account takings are. Once again, for some people it's income from an app. But you need to keep those sheets and you need to give them to your accountant. You need to keep them to be able to show somebody else. We ask most of our clients to just take a daily note of exactly what they're earning. But once again, if you're putting that money through a bank account, you need to keep that bank statements so that you can give it to us at the end, and we will do a bank reconciliation for you. If you see down here, we have a list of your expenses. Now, your expenses are anything that is solely for the use of your business, and I'll give you an example of what we've got, which is our suggested ones. If you hire your car, if you rent your car, that's an expense. If you purchase a car, we'll talk about that briefly later on, you need to give us all the invoice, and you can actually claim the interest payments back if you have it on hire purchase or something like that. But once again, for here it's just what your car hire, your circuit rent that you pay to your operator if that's how you work, any motor expenses, your car insurance, car washing, parking, subsistence, that's an interesting one. You can legitimately claim your need to subsist at work, which for most drivers, you know, you're out at strange and unusual times, you need to eat, you need to have a coffee, you need to have some food. We will claim for you those health and safety food-based needs in with that. Your licensing costs, if people have a uniform or something like that. So there's a not quite an exhaustive list, but there's quite a long list of these. Once again, you need to sit down with the accountant and go through it, but the sheets that we've got for you give you an outline of what you need to keep in the details that you do. So that's sitting there in front of you. Okay. With the books and records, you as well as recording your cash takings, as well as keeping the receipts and keeping your account sheets, and also keeping your bank reconciliation. Once again, it's really important that you keep your invoices in some reasonable order. Once again, accountants like us that are involved in the digital side are starting to allow people to take photographs of them and hold them. There's some very good apps for that. We'll be introducing our own very soon. And the most important thing as well is that your fuel is recorded, because that's one of the things that the Inland Revenue will look at. We, even as an accountant, I can look at how much fuel you used, know which car you're driving, have an idea of where you work, and even I can come up with an approximation of what it should like. I know to an extent what your engaged and unengaged mileage is, when you've got a passenger on board or not. So there we are, that's how it's done. Okay, other things that we need to talk about. National insurance. When we register you as self-employed, we're actually registering you to pay national insurance. Now, up until quite recently, many drivers will be used to paying it monthly, but nowadays your national insurance, which is class 2 and class 4 national insurance, is paid when you pay your tax return. So when we've done the calculation for you, you will see there will be a separate section that will be X amount of £100. Class 4 is based on your profit, class 2 is a set amount, but there will be a separate section. Obviously national insurance contributions go towards your pension, paid towards the NHS. You want to keep up your pension payments, but that's paid once a year with your tax return. If you have not paid enough national insurance, once again, most accountants will go online, look at your personal tax account. That's another thing you need to think about to helping set up your tax account, but it will tell you whether you're up to date with the national insurance payments to know if you're entitled to a pension. Okay. Buying a car, using a car. It's very difficult because a lot of people come to me and say, am I better to buy, hire, lease? Well, in all honesty, my answer is, unfortunately, everybody's individual situation is different, and it's also about how much you're spending. If most of you walk into a normal car company and say, I want to hire a car, and they say, what are you hiring for? And they say private hire, all of a sudden the price is going to go up because, to be fair, the car is well used and you'll do high mileage. So a lot of the decisions that you need to make is actually about how much it's going to cost you, what is a reasonable amount, because it's your working tool, it's your business equipment. When you rent a car, it's 100% tax deductible. When you purchase a car, we normally make an allowance or an annual investment allowance of sorts, which can actually offset the cost of the car. So there's a little kind of tax credit that you can use on that. And once again, it depends on how long you intend to keep your car, what you're going to pay for your car, and what the actual cost of running it is. So the other thing, as I mentioned before, you can claim the interest back on a purchase. Once again, honestly, you need to sit down and talk to your accountant. No one way is better or worse. It depends on your individual situation, but you need to think about it and you need to talk to your accountant about it as well. Okay, so just briefly in the pack, there's another sheet that talks about keeping books and records, which is everything we've spoken about. Finally, what I would say to you is that there's an old adage that a man who represents himself is represented by a fool. The self-assessment tax system is reasonably simple, but there are a lot of pitfalls. I would encourage everybody to use the services, or at least take advice from a professional, which I would do. I'm an accountant, but we are Drivertax, or a company. We can deal with you nationally. We have offices in London. We have offices in the Midlands. Go and have a look at us, www.drivertax.co.uk, or you can telephone us on 0208 529 2600. Once again, our names are all over the information, and there's a sheet and some other bits and pieces for you. Pick up the phone, ask. There's no question is silly as far as we're concerned. It's a very important thing for you. There's a lot about it in the news about self-employment drivers and everything else, I'm sure you've seen. If you go online and go to the website, you'll see some of the articles that I've written and everything else. Please don't be shy of getting in touch with us. I hope this has given you a little bit of insight. Sorry if we've taken up a lot of your time, but once again, any questions, pick up the phone. Thank you for your time. As you can see, I'm still not there yet as we travel along, but I look forward to meeting you soon.